Hey there and welcome to my channel. I want to personally invite you to join on my adventures as a psychic, intuitive empath who likes to do channeling, ayahuasca ceremonies, and also I have a business reading tarot and oracle cards. So if you want to learn a little bit about how I started with that and what brought me to doing that for a living, you can check out a video I recently made all about this and also how I learned to read tarot in general. But today I want to talk about something very specific, something that's specific to my practice, to my tarot practice, to my oracle practice, to my divination practice in general. And that is the fact that I do not practice fortune telling. Now, some people assume that if someone's reading tarot cards or runes or using other tools in order to communicate with the divine realms or spirit world or any kind of psychic spiritual energy, that it's often assumed that there's fortune telling involved. And a lot of times that scares people because a lot of people who have encountered these types of spiritual practices have unfortunately run into fortune telling. And in this video, I want to talk about 7 different reasons why I personally do not practice fortune telling. Reason number 1, I firmly believe in purpose, and purpose is something that shifts. I think purpose to me is an accumulation of the experiences and lessons that you learn throughout life, from early stages to later stages. And I think it's something that transforms and shifts and changes and adjusts and adapts and matures and becomes something more and something more complex. The more you develop as a person, the more you develop spiritually. But purpose is something that brings you here. And what I mean by brings you here is literally brings you to have a life and have a body. There is something more than just being born and dying that brought you here. And that has to do with your gifts, your abilities, your natural inclinations, and like I said, your general life, the things that you encounter, the things that change you, the things that influence you, the things that just transform you and make you go wow, and make you go ouch, and make you go this life is so crazy, but this is why I'm here, so to me, purpose, what I just described, my understanding of it, is directly contradicting the concept of fortune telling. Now I'm going to explain a little bit why. To me, fortune telling is not a prediction. It's not necessarily of sight. It's something that is created, but it's not really created by you. It's created by the person who is telling you your fortune, the person whom you paid to receive your fortune. And when that happens, you are not only paying for, but you are accepting, because you just paid for it, a life that is not completely your own. You are allowing someone else's psychic, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, energy interfere, interpret, and project itself into your life. And I believe it can affect your purpose. So when it comes to someone asking about fortune telling, personally, I've had experiences with it where I was kind of told my future by a fortune teller. And I'm originally from Russia, so oftentimes there are these ladies, some of them, are referred to as gypsies. I don't like to use this term because I feel like it's not accurate and it's not necessarily doing any justice to kind of discerning different spiritual approaches. So I would say these are just practitioners that do not have any boundaries. So they are in it to make money. They're in it to exercise this kind of supreme power over other people. So often I'd be approached by one of those and they'd be like, here's your future fortune. Now, if you don't want anything bad to happen, give me a coin. Now, that's obviously completely invasive, unethical, and terrible. And if you feel like someone's trying to do this to you, you should walk away. If you live in a country where that's accepted, you are, or kind of like a cultural phenomenon, you'll probably be familiar with what I'm talking about. So I've experienced this almost like invasively. And it has always been a negative experience. Once it wasn't necessarily prediction, it was more kind of like a description of what I was feeling at the moment, and that was actually helpful. But it felt like this lady was different. But however I experienced fortune telling made me feel terrible always. And I'm extremely empathic. I'm an empath. A lot of my channel is dedicated to covering what it's like to be an empath and how we can survive and thrive and adapt and things like that. So if you are an empath, subscribe and like this video. But essentially, fortune telling can interfere with your purpose because someone is pushing that vision on you. And if you pay for it, you have to accept it. Some part of you has already accepted because paying for something is an exchange of value. So when you give value for something, even if you don't believe it, if you don't like it, you've just placed value on it. So that's why it's so tricky, and it can, in my opinion, interfere with your purpose. So that's reason number one. We're moving on to reason number 2 out of 7. Reason number 2 is the question, the all-time question that men and women have wondered about for hundreds, thousands, who knows, maybe even millions of years. And the question is, does free will exist? Now, why is that a reason for me to be against fortune telling, you will ask? Well, because I do think that free will exists. We've just talked about purpose and what I think of purpose, but I also think that we have free will, and I think that your purpose is largely affected by how you use your free will. Now, sometimes you're presented with a lesson and you can either learn from that lesson or you're gonna have to repeat that lesson in a different format. You know how you've maybe had relationships, right? Where it's a different person, but it feels like your past relationship. You're like, am I cursed? Why is it the same exact situation? You haven't learned the lesson. Okay, it is the same exact situation. The lesson is being repeated. And it will continue being repeated until you choose to use your free will to learn the lesson that is part of the purpose and the reason why you're here. So I do believe in free will. Now, how we choose to use it is up to each individual person. But I think not only does fortune telling interfere with purpose, it completely abolishes free will. It completely assumes like everything has already pretty much happened, and all you have to do is just go through the motions every day, and there's nothing that you can do about your life. It takes the basic human autonomy away from the person and tells this person, sit back, don't worry, don't worry about anything, just give up. Here's your future. It's already gonna happen. There's nothing you can do about it. There it is. Free will doesn't exist. Purpose, maybe, but who knows now? I am extremely against that. I am extremely against that because this, not only is this mentality kind of reinforced in society where you're taught that being born into a certain wealth group determines how much money you're going to make or have or be able to have, where a certain type of education determines what kind of growth opportunities you're provided, where being born in a certain area determines, how you're considered by the rest of the world and what resources you have. There's so much disparity already that it is challenging a person to overcome, and to say, no, I have free will. I am gonna escape this. I am gonna get out of this. I am gonna, expand into the situation. I am gonna go to this location. I am gonna get this degree. I am gonna get this job. I am gonna start my business no matter what. Now that's free will. So there's enough challenges in life already where you have to overcome them and say, no, I'm gonna use my free will. But then imagine going to a fortune teller and there it is. Someone tells you, no, your future is, I see it. It's done. Just don't worry about it. It's extremely defeating. And if someone places value in it by paying for it, part of them will accept that. And then that means part of them will accept this kind of victim mentality, victim of life mentality, like, well, future's already decided. I'm just gonna have to sit back and watch it happen to me. And that bothers me to an extent that I cannot describe. I hope I'm energetically being able to communicate this to you. So, yes, free will does exist. Is it still within the scope of the purpose that your soul chose in coming here? I believe so, personally. Does fortune telling interfere with both? Yes. Does it go against the concept of free will? Abso-freaking-lutely, which is why I do not practice fortune telling. Do I have visions of the future? Yes. Do I practice fortune telling? No. And I would never recommend someone to go to a fortune teller and to get something that's called fortune telling. Okay, number three. Number three is spiritual monopoly. The most frustrating reality that I've encountered in my life, because I am a spiritual person. I always have been since I was little. I've always been an alchemist. I've always been an empath. I've always been a manifester, a mystic, because I was a mystic before I came into this body. I was a mystic before I chose to come here, and I've always had this awareness. But as soon as I got exposed to organized religion and was kind of like put in that system, I realized that I had no freedom to practice my own spirituality. I had no room to express what I thought. I had no room to disagree with dogmas. I had no room to challenge male priests wearing black dresses, which is, I'm talking about a very specific religion that's prevalent in Russia, which is where I grew up. And so that later in life, as I emerged out of that toxicity and that condemnation by these religious leaders, whoever challenges them, whoever challenges the norm, they are entitled to condemn you to, say, going to hell, for example, which I don't even believe exists. So spiritual monopoly is something that I've been frustrated my pretty much whole life, since very early age, because spiritual monopoly told me that I was wrong in being naturally who I am and experiencing naturally the things that I experienced. And there was no room for disagreement. There was no room for acceptance, no room for compassion, no room for coexisting. That's spiritual monopoly. Now, usually with this term, a lot of times people will think about organized religion, but I want to say that fortune telling is actually also a form of spiritual monopoly, because when you go to see someone who can interfere with your purpose because they put themselves above you, because they can see your future, when you go to someone who completely opposes even the concept of free will, because they're saying, oh, I see your future, you don't have to do anything, that's already going to happen no matter what you do, then you're going to someone who is holding spiritual monopoly over you. Someone who says to you, whether you understand it or not, whether you recognize it or not, I can see your future and you cannot. I can see what's going to happen to you and you cannot. I can warn you about things that are happening and out of your control, and you don't have control. So you have to come to me every time, and you got to consult with me, and I'm the one who's going to see your future. And you have to rely on me. So you're gonna have to spend money with me all the time, and you're gonna have to keep coming back to me because I see your future and you cannot. So that's a form of spiritual monopoly. Now, I personally practice present moment readings. That's gonna be the theme for another video, is why I only practice present moment readings. But for now, I'll just say that because I only practice present moment readings, my goal is to connect each person that is my client to their own source of intuitive wisdom. My goal is to allow them to see that some of these intuitive hunches, these messages, these feelings that they've been getting are spot on. That some of these things they're going to hear from me, and I'm channeling them, but I'm channeling their own intuition, essentially. My goal is to connect each person to their own intuitive guidance, which is present in every person. And in that, I communicate, and I make it a point to communicate that I'm not above this person, that I don't have special abilities that they do not have, that I'm not better than them, that I don't have a special access to the divine that they can't achieve themselves. Now, have I worked on it more than they have? Most likely. Can I do maybe something that they don't know how to do, which is understanding the language of tarot and the symbols of tarot? Maybe. Have I also developed my channeling and psychic abilities? Yes, I have. Does that make it easier for someone to come and request a reading from me and then be like, yes, that makes sense now? Most of the time, unless you want to learn this yourself, in which case I'm just going to encourage you and support you on your journey of reading cards, runes, whatever you want to read. But I am not creating a spiritual monopoly, and to me that is a deciding factor. I do not do anything that the person requesting a reading from me cannot do themselves. Sometimes they don't have the confidence, sometimes they don't have the practice, sometimes they don't have the time, sometimes they just want to know, they want to hear it from somewhere else. Sometimes it's important to get a reading from someone else. Sometimes I go to readers myself and get readings for myself. But there is no spiritual monopoly. And there's nothing that I can see or have advantage or have control over that my client does not also have access or control over. Because it's all about the present moment. And so they can decide how they will use this information to heal their past or to create the future that they desire. But do they always have to come for me? I hope not. I hope this reading will connect them to their own intuitive guidance. And when they want a reading, I would love to do another reading for them. But if that connects them to their own wisdom and they just start kind of getting these messages directly, then I'm going to be the happiest person on planet Earth, because my mission, my goal has been accomplished. Because my mission is to connect everyone to their own source of intuitive guidance, of divine wisdom dwelling within. It's not something a priest or a psychic or a fortune teller can have an advantage over. That is something that every person is born with. And so I am deeply against spiritual monopoly. And that's what fortune telling is. Now I'm moving on to point number 4, which is going to address a question I get sometimes. And the question is, what's the point of the present moment readings? It's a good question, because in the present moment, you can have power that you never, ever, ever can have when you dwell on the past or when you dwell on the future that does not exist yet. Now, you might ask me, why present moment though? Well, because in the present moment, you have the ability to actually implement change. You have the ability to make a decision. You have an ability to forgive. You have an ability to commit. You have an ability to realize. You have an ability to surrender. You have an ability to release. You have an ability to take action. In fact, present moment, right now, like right now when you're watching this video, is all you have. Present moment is the only thing that's ever promised. Are you promised tomorrow personally? Am I promised tomorrow? Is anyone else promised tomorrow? No. You never know. Yes, we all hope. Yes, we all plan. But you probably heard that saying, man plans and God laughs, right? So that's, I think, is very accurate, actually. I think that plans are great, goals are great, but you can't count on tomorrow. You can't live in tomorrow. You also can't live in the past, because you're not living. You're not here even. The only thing you ever have is the present moment. So some people ask me, so what's the point of the present moment reading? Okay, I get it. Present moment. Okay, great. What's the point of a psychic doing a present moment reading? You know, I know what the present moment is to me. I want to know my future. Well, the thing is, the future that you want to know is wanting to know the future is actually giving your power away, because your future is something for you to create. The present moment reading allows you to access information that you are otherwise unable to see, things you're not able to understand, things that you just don't, they're not in your awareness. Maybe there is something that you're avoiding. Maybe there is an issue that's been kind of in the back of your mind and you've been ignoring it. Maybe there are factors that you're forgetting. Maybe you are too hard on yourself. Maybe there is a lack of self-care. Maybe something is bothering you and you haven't processed emotions yet, but you're trying so hard to focus on other things. Now, sometimes it's very hard to access this information. Sometimes it's actually pretty easy. And when you develop a spiritual practice, you can meditate, you can journal, you can channel, you can pray, you can do divination readings for yourself. There's plenty of different tactics, and none of them are right or wrong. But when you don't have that spiritual practice, and when you don't know what's going on, but you know something's off, or something is there, or you just don't get it, but there's something that you just need to understand better, a present moment reading is the only thing that can ever empower you. Now, a past moment reading, what's that going to do? It might give you an understanding of what happened before, but it's in the past. It's already taken place. Now, there might be a reading about the future, but who's creating that future? And why does this person get an authority on what your future looks like? Who are they? And why do they have this capacity that you don't have, even though it's your future, right? But the present moment reading gives you the keys to heal the past now, not back then, but now. Look at the past with a fresh perspective, and then also take steps to create the future that you desire. Are you on track towards that future? Are you doing what is honoring your purpose? Are you following what fulfills you? Or are you doing something that stresses you out? Are you doing something that makes you miserable? These are things that can be visible in the present moment. So present moment readings are actually empowering, while fortune telling is completely and entirely disempowering. So we're moving on to point number 5, building relationship with your intuition. And this goes back a little bit to the argument that fortune telling creates a sort of a spiritual monopoly. Now, my goal, as I mentioned, is connecting people to their own intuitive wisdom, to their own divine guidance, to their own spiritual presence, essence, support that dwells within, but is not often easily accessible, especially if you don't have a spiritual practice or discipline in place, especially if you're just kind of starting on your awakening journey. And that is actually something that empowers a person to move forward with confidence, that they don't have to seek out someone because this person is more qualified than themselves. Now, they still, as I mentioned, might seek out someone like me, for example, because they just would like to have a reading. They would like someone else to kind of confirm or maybe offer a different perspective than what they're seeing, and sometimes that's important. But there is no need, there is no disparity, there is no, you can only go to me, you can't do it on your own, which is often what I got from Christian spiritual advisors, if I may call them that. And fortune telling actually also disempowers you and disconnects you from your own intuition, because it places this intuitive sense kind of exclusively into the fortune teller. It makes it more of a inborn ability that you either have or don't have. And the way that I've encountered fortune telling in different cultures, Russian, American, across the globe, is in fortune telling practitioners, we will almost always see this, I have this gift and you do not. I was born with this ability and you don't have it. But I'm here to break news to you guys. Intuition is a skill. Intuition is an ability that can be developed. Just like gratitude, it is intentional. Just like picking up trash, it is a choice. Just like cleaning your house, it's something you have to do if you want to get better at it. If you want to have a nice clean house, you're going to have to clean it. If you want to have a nice clear intuition, you're gonna have to tune in and listen to it. And you might even have to kind of stir it up on purpose if it's not really talking to you, because you may have scared it away by being like, this makes no logical sense, shut up, I'm gonna go by facts. Okay, so intuition is a skill. It's an ability that can be developed. It's an ability that all of us are born with. It's an ability that, yes, some people naturally have a little more developed, like just naturally, and some people have to work harder on it. But that's just like anything else. Public speaking, writing, dancing, singing, playing piano, playing guitar, you name it. Now, as in the case of some Christian / other organized religious practices, it is often said that a man can only have these abilities and a woman that has them is the devil. It is often said that a person needs to be trained and sacrifice things in order to have this ability kind of be legitimate, and everyone else is just representing the devil. Now, I've heard crazier things, I've heard way more lenient things. I'm not assuming this about everyone, but this is just something I'm familiar with. A fortune teller tells you the same exact thing. They say, I have this gift. I was born with this gift of sight. I can see your future. You cannot see it. I have a gift. You do not. I have something that you don't have. So you have to seek me out, because only I can tell you what's going to happen, what you should do, and what you should trust, who you should not trust. That's a lot of control over someone. And it's completely disregarding the fact that if you worked on your intuitive abilities, you could get them as developed as the fortune teller that you're going to see. Now, do you want to be someone that does readings for a living like I do? Probably, maybe not at all. But even if you do, you can. Even if you are just starting, that's something you can develop. So I believe in building a relationship with your intuition. I believe that intuition is a skill, and I believe that you can develop it. And I believe that if you're at ground zero with your intuition, you can start and get wherever you want to go, to the point of being able to do readings, seeing auras, do whatever. Obviously, your natural inclinations would kind of maybe push you towards a specific expression of that intuition. Maybe a way works better for you than it does for others. But does it mean that one person has it and other people don't? No, everyone has intuition. We're moving on to reason number 6. So reason number 6 is a shift in perspective. What does that mean? Well, when I do present moment readings, oftentimes there will be a breakthrough, a leap, a realization where a person goes, wow, I haven't thought of it that way. That can actually change things. And that can change the course of events that they're currently in. That can even complete or initiate a new cycle for them. That can open a door of opportunity that they may not have seen before. That may enable them to forgive someone that they would otherwise not be able to forgive. There can be different shifts in perspective that take place as a result of a present moment intuitive psychic reading. Now, what about fortune telling? Well, with fortune telling, I don't believe there is a shift in perspective that's available or even desirable, because what the fortune teller banks on is essentially the ability to be right, to predict things correctly, to have the client come back and say, you know what, you were right. That person did do something nasty to me, and this woman did say a mean thing to me, and this person did look jealously at my significant other, and you were right. So the danger here is that even if something that is predicted by the fortune teller can possibly cause disappointment, discouragement, harm, frustration, pain, hurt, anger to the client, it is still in the fortune teller's best interests that they stay that course out and that the prediction comes true, so that they are seen as more powerful, so that they are seen as someone who is right about a person's future. That is extremely dangerous, because whereas a present moment reading can empower someone to shift a perspective, to get rid of an addiction, to understand a relationship better, to address a frustration in a safer way, to release themselves from the bonds that are possibly hurting them or being toxic. In the case of fortune telling, that's not going to be beneficial to the fortune teller. This shift in perspective is going to kind of contradict their reading, because what if the client has a shift? What if they go like, you know what, that's actually not the path that I want to be on. Let me change some things. Then the prediction becomes incorrect, and then the fortune teller becomes incorrect, and then the premise of their service becomes flawed, and then the person's going to come back and be like, hey, I want my money back, this reading didn't come true. So essentially, a fortune teller is banking on you not changing, you not growing, you not doing better than you are doing right now. And the present moment reading gives you the tools to do the changes, decisions, and create new solutions that will actually improve the quality of your life, that will actually help you and assist you in your journey and help you in your unique purpose, help you on your unique path. So we're moving on to the last point, which is point number 7. I am working on something really exciting. I'm currently beginning to write a book that I've been dreaming about creating for a while now. Ever since I started reading tarot cards, I knew there would be a book that I would create about tarot, because although I love oracle cards, tarot is a system. Tarot is a story book. Tarot is a combination of separate chapters, some more mundane, some more trivial, and some more profound, some more divine, some more connected to the ultimate wisdom of all life. Tarot is this complex, fascinating structure of stories. Now, unfortunately, tarot is most frequently, most often associated with fortune telling. But I believe that tarot is so much more than that. And it offers such a unique, such a deep, such a personal insight into the many psychological archetypes of human beings, into the many different possibilities and different outcomes, into the many different perspectives, and into the many different glimpses of what the self is and how it expresses in a human form. So studying tarot extremely extensively for not that long of a period of time, but doing it so intensely, so passionately, and so completely as I have, I feel that I'm finally ready to share the stories of tarot. And I'm not going to be telling them from my own perspective. I'm going to be letting the cards tell me the story, letting the cards communicate the collective messages, the accumulation of messages that have been associated with the cards for hundreds of years now. And I'm gonna put myself in a receptive mode and channel and bring these stories to life. Now, this book is going to be a work in progress. I'm going to be actually publishing it in increments, in a fuller version than the actual book will be. I will be publishing each card as a chapter separately on my blog, and then getting some feedback and kind of learning from the story standing on its own. And then I'm going to be putting all these stories together once each individual chapter is finished, which there's 78 cards. So it's going to be quite a journey, but I invite you to join me on this journey. I'm currently completing the very first card that I've been working on, and the link to that first chapter is going to be in the description to this video. Now, why is this something that I use as a reason against fortune telling? Well, because I see tarot, as I said, a storybook. When I do a reading for a person that is my client or for myself, each card represents a chapter. And when you arrange chapters in this very particular, very personal, very synchronicitous type fashion, where the cards are drawn randomly and shuffled and twisted around, and you get this storyline consisting of these seemingly random chapters coming together, it creates a storybook. And I think that is fascinating. I think that is so unique and so incredibly powerful that we can learn the system and use it to understand the messages of our subconscious mind, but not as a maybe jumbled up dream, or not as a weird vision, or not as a strange deja vu, but as something that can be interpreted, something that can be studied, something that can be understood more and more the more you practice it. So my last standpoint against fortune telling is that I think tarot is so much more than the fortune telling it's been identified with, and I look forward to contributing to this liberation of the art of tarot from the chains of the past and fortune telling and unethical spiritual practices. And I look forward to seeing you guys join me on this journey. I will be posting videos about each independent card as well to kind of accompany my book. And so I look forward to sharing those on my channel right here. If you're interested in that, please subscribe and drop a comment. Tell me if you've read tarot before, if that's something you're studying, if that's something you've had experiences with, if that's something you'd like to learn and why. Maybe you want to start your own business, maybe you just want to do readings for yourself and your friends, maybe you just want to try something alternative, an alternative form of communicating with your intuition. I look forward to hearing from you. I reply to all of my comments. You can check out the other videos and see confirmation of that. And again, subscribe and hit that bell button because I don't have a consistent schedule yet, but I really love making videos about these things. So I look forward to seeing you on more of my videos. And until then, I love you so very much. I hope you can feel my love and I hope this video serves you. Bye.